I have student loans that I'm working to pay off. I feel like it's the biggest burden on me at this point.
The Regions Next Step project is helping real customers like Sierra confidently take their next step in life.
Going to Regions Bank is very important for me because I get to sit down face-to-face with people and they will educate me about my financial situation.
Watch real Next Step stories and plan your own at regions.com/Sierra.
I'm ready to take my next step.
Regions, official bank of the SEC, member FDIC. Paid appearance by an actual Regions customer telling her real story.
It's a football Sunday doubleheader. First in Green Bay, the Packers face the Lions.
Got it! Touchdown!
Then at MetLife Stadium, the Giants host the undefeated Patriots. Coverage begins Sunday at noon Eastern on ESPN Radio. Passion, opinion, must-hear radio. This is the Paul Finebaum Show. And now, Paul Finebaum.
Good afternoon. Welcome in on a Tuesday, week 2 of the college football playoff poll. That is coming out 4 hours from now, and looking forward to seeing how that turns out. We'll get into all of that on the program tonight. Your phone calls, many guests, but the big headline, of course, is what happens tonight with the College Football Playoff Committee, and where will they go? We know what happened last week. What about this week? Yeah, last week we got the whole thing right. I'm not as confident this year. We had Alabama in there, and a lot of people wondered about that. But this week, I believe it's going to. This is my poll. If I had been on the committee, it would be Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State, and Baylor. I tend to think Oklahoma State or Notre Dame is the more likely of this committee, but we will find out here again in 4 hours. Next headline. It's about Les Miles and LSU. LSU has little time to regroup with 3 huge games remaining, including Arkansas. Remember, it was Arkansas that just shut LSU down last year, and shut down Fournette as well. It was a mess for Leonard Fournette.
I know our team, I know our state, I know our fan base is disappointed, but I can tell you this, that this morning when I came in, that certainly was my feeling. But we got a really good team. We got a team that can play and a lot to play for. We're a team that if you stay once defeated, that at the back end of this thing you just never can tell. There's just too much to play for. And you put yourself in a position to take the lead in the West by staying undefeated. So we are also playing for the boot, and that gives Arkansas a little added. It gives us a little added incentive.
I don't know if it's the boot, everybody loves that boot, man. I mean, we got to sit down there in that little spot, and people come off that elevator, they like freak out. They want to take a picture with the boot, and can I take a picture? Like it's maybe illegal to take a picture of the boot, which makes it even more freaky. The way that we won it last year, it was a tight ball game my first year. We should have been able to close that baby out. Got tremendous respect for Les. I think just being the whole Big Ten thing from previous and knowing about him and learning about him, I really enjoyed being around Les at SEC meetings. He's an entertaining guy, and had so much success. So there's probably a lot that goes into it.
Yes, he is entertaining, and so is Dak Prescott. What a legendary career he has had. Last year, remember, leading the Heisman, state number 1 in the country. He has done pretty much everything other than a championship and a win over Alabama. A win over Alabama would put a capper on the career.
Throws into the end zone. Cooper, touchdown! What a grab by Cooper in double coverage. Throws it in the end zone and it's picked off. And Alabama Alabama's defense comes up with a huge stop. Breaks a tackle, kicks it outside right. Touchdown! P.J. Eldon. And this one's over. Alabama has knocked off Mississippi State. There's going to be a new #1 in college football.
A year ago this weekend in Tuscaloosa, it was Alabama beating the #1 team in the country, and Alabama would then vault to the #1 position, which it held until late on the night of New Year's Day. Much more to talk about there, and much more to talk about on the show today. Evander Holyfield, the champ. He'll be in the house. Pat Dooley, Gary Danielson, he'll be in Starkville this weekend. Luganville later on as well. 4 hours before the college football playoff show on ESPN, Joey Galloway will give us his look ahead. Barrett Salee as well. 6:30 Eastern, the one and only Joe Tessitore with the latest on the Heismanology. And if you're an Alabama fan, you may want to listen up. That is where we are on a Tuesday afternoon early. Look forward to visiting with you at 855-242-7285. Always enjoy the conversation. Let's start with Rick in Florida. Rick, thank you. Good afternoon.
Hey, how about them Gators, Paul? It's about time you let us on the show, brother. McElwain's got to go on their offensive line and everything is shaky, but we're still in there and in the hunt. How about that after 1 year of McElwain?
How about
Darryl in Georgia calling, always talking about the Bulldogs? Hey, check it out, Darryl. Mark Rick is up there struggling. Their first-year coach is bringing it in, brother. How about them Gators, Paul? Come on, give us some love.
What an entertaining call that was. Buddy is up next in Birmingham. Hey, Buddy.
Hey, Paul. How you doing today?
Doing great. Thank you very much.
Listen, I have a couple of questions about Florida. I'm a Florida Gator fan. What do you think? Who do you think Florida might be playing Atlanta?
Who do I think Florida might be playing? I think right now it would the odds-on favorite would be Alabama. LSU would be the probably the next pick. Brian is up next in Florida. Brian, thank you and good afternoon.
Hey, Paul. Nice to talk to you. Hey, rankings come out tonight. I expect Florida will probably stay around the same. I don't think we deserve to go up or down. That game Saturday was as close to a debacle as you can come up with if you're a Gator fan, but you're going to flip the script a little bit. You just have to look at it at, hey, we won. Vanderbilt has always played us tough coming after the Georgia week. And, we just have such a good upside coming up.
Yeah, let me say this, Brian. The thing about Florida, tonight doesn't matter. Florida has South Carolina. But 2 weeks from now against Florida State is the opportunity to pick up some points with the College Football Playoff Committee, and then obviously the SEC Championship game. I still believe if Florida can remain a one-loss team and then beat the SEC West champion, I think it's in. I don't think there's really going to be too much debate about that.
Yeah, and I would agree with you on that, Paul. And just as a side note, before I have one more question, all the ticket orders are out, and Florida is obviously going to gobble up our share. And I know when Alabama plays at the Dome, they seem to have an advantage in tickets, but we're doing everything we can because we want to get at least 50,000 people up there, maybe get 35,000.
Well, it is a tremendous advantage, Brian, because Alabama, Birmingham is only 2 hours from Atlanta. You go to the eastern side of Alabama, it's only an hour from Atlanta, so it's a drive over and drive back for a 3 o'clock game. Florida is a little bit longer, to say the least. 855-242-7285 is our number. Taking your phone calls here. Looking forward to visiting with all of you. Kevin is up next. Kevin, thank you, and good afternoon.
Hey, Paul. How you doing today?
Very well, thanks.
All right. First of all, I want to say thanks for taking my call, and I really enjoy the show. I've called a handful of times, and I guess I'm a Vols fan. And what I wanted to say, I've been watching SEC football for a long time, Paul, and really me and you agree on a lot of things, and that, that may not speak well for you, but anyway, I was hoping you'd maybe help me try to figure out something here, Ben, as we got the same. I can't figure something out. Why do our Vols, no matter who they play, whether it be good or bad, home or away, it seems like basically every game comes right down to the final play. And I've got about 3 theories on it, and I'll give them to you, and then you just see what you think about it. I don't know if it's like the coaches come up with a good game plan, they execute it fast out of the gate, and then just don't make changes during the game to adjust to what the other team does, or maybe it's just young kids going out there and, getting up a big lead and then becoming satisfied with it and backing off, or is it just a strange coincidence and can't figure it out, or just...
Yeah, let me jump in here. I think if you go back to the beginning of the season, Tennessee would start a lot of games with energy, Oklahoma, Florida, and then they simply couldn't sustain it. I just don't think this Tennessee team has enough depth right now. I think in terms of starters, a great deal of talent, but it's still a team that is not quite there. I think, Kevin, I think Tennessee's almost there, and I think they will be there when this season is over. But injuries, suspensions, a lot of issues before the season, I think, played a role in what happened to Tennessee. But I think good things are on the horizon. I think the Georgia game was critical, and I think since then Tennessee has been playing with a mission. Didn't play well, didn't finish that South Carolina game very well, but I think Tennessee is definitely going to be a factor in the future. We'll be right back. Much more to come on our Tuesday afternoon program. We'll talk to you and many guests in a moment.
Truck driver.
Welcome you back. Delighted to be joined by the champ, four-time champion of the world, Evander Holyfield. Evander, thanks for the time, and I know you've been making the rounds today talking about this film, and I guess it's hard for you to go anywhere without the Tyson reference, but in some ways it really doesn't give your career enough credit because you were quite a champ.
Well, thank you.
When you think back on your career, everyone has highlights. I mean, winning the title 4 times, I'm sure, would be at the top. Is there a singular moment that you'll always take with you?
Well, I'm making an Olympic team. Making an Olympic team, 1984 was the highlight. I think that was the jump start and me being who I am today in the professional arena.
And for those who don't remember that, I mean, it came to such a bizarre ending. How disappointing was that disqualification? You not being able to achieve your ultimate goal there.
Well, it was disappointing, but I came up in situation like that. A lot of bad things happen, but life is about overcoming them, and proving if you don't quit, you'll get there.
You won 5 titles overall, but most people remember the famous match with Mike Tyson, and I know that will be part of this documentary. How many times a day are you asked about that?
Well, I'm asked a lot. When it's just with Evander, they're gonna talk about Mike Tyson. It's just almost like Ali and Frazier. They were the two people that, with each other, things worked. With Tyson being the person who he was, and me being the opposite. We were both good fighters, but two type of people, and I think it works.
When that happened, Evander, it became not only a sports story. I mean, it transcended life. I mean, it was about the only subject in the world the next day and the days that followed. What was it like to be the man in the middle right there?
Well, it's hard. It's hard because I had beat him once, and on this second, it just happened to be a controversy, him doing what he did, and I'm just happy that I was able to handle it the way that I handled it.
At the moment it happened, when he went for your ear, could you believe what was going on?
Well, it was a shock. You see how high I jumped. I didn't even know I could jump that high, but I did.
Well, It's certainly, not that you needed any more fame with 5 titles, 4 heavyweight titles, but it certainly puts you in the mainstream in American history and world history when it comes to the sport. Let me ask you about something else. Your son, Elijah, quite a football player, recruited by everyone around. He committed to the University of Georgia. Take us through that process. It must have been a proud moment for Dad.
Man, it definitely was a proud moment for me. He had a lot of people. Recruiting him, and his choice was Georgia, and now it's the point of now is it still Georgia? Hoping that it is. He was this is a school that he felt that would enhance his program.
As 4-star running back, when he made the commitment to Georgia, was there another school close, or was it all Georgia all the time?
Well, the thing is just what's the point of with me? I had my ideas of what I thought that would be, but we let him choose the school that he kind of felt that it would best represent himself.
Evander, you live down there. You know what's going on. There's been a lot of controversy and comments about Mark Richt and where that program is going. You said you seem to indicate that there's a commitment there, but how strong is that commitment if Mark Richt is no longer the coach?
Well, I'm sure we get a chance to make another decision if we choose to do so. And so right now we don't know if Mark is there or not. So just wait till we find out if he's there or not. Then we have to make another decision.
What are your thoughts about Mark Richt continuing as the Georgia head coach?
Well, really, I really hadn't thought about it. It'd be wrong for me even to say anything because the fact that I hadn't thought about it because I've been out of the country.
But clearly, you would like him to be the head coach. Is that a fair statement?
Well, with me, I really didn't choose it. We allow him to choose the school that we think was best for himself, and we just wanted to make sure that academics and the grades and stuff would be proper. And so his mother wanted to make sure that the education is the most important thing, and we know that he can play football. He can run the ball anywhere. But the thing is to make sure that his grades and stuff that was right would be right.
My final question on this, and I don't mean to belabor the point, but is there some place or some school that you would have preferred him going to?
Well, actually, I would have said Notre Dame, but if you're gonna go for the gusto, go for the gusto. The education is key, and then that what it would have been. But but Georgia's a good school. Georgia's a school that I always wanted to go to, and so, but it was just at that time, if you could choose one, why not choose the best for the education if the education is going to be the key?
In terms of, we spent a lot of time on this program talking about college football. How closely, I've seen you on the sidelines before at games, but how closely do you follow the sport?
Well, I love football. Football was probably my first love. I boxed, and that was something that I could do real well, and I loved it. But my first goal was to play professional football, and I really love football, and I just think that people should choose the things that they love to do.
Well, no doubt. Well, certainly best wishes with Elijah, and depending on what happens in Athens, I'm sure may or may not affect his decision. Evander, thank you for your time. I know you've had a long day. We appreciate you coming on board.
Thank you.
Evander Holyfield, with some interesting comments there about his son. Wanted him to go to Notre Dame. He committed to the University of Georgia. but for how long, depending on the circumstances in Athens, and that's a very fluid situation, as everyone here knows. Much more to come on the program this afternoon. More of your phone calls at 855-242-7285. Many more guests, including Pat Dooley. We'll get his take on Florida. It was a year ago this coming weekend that Will Muschamp and the Gators hosted South Carolina. They lost the game, and the next day, Will Muschamp was fired. We'll talk to Pat Dooley about an amazing year since when we return.
Mom, I can't...
Welcome back to the program. If you'd like to watch that Evander Holyfield interview backwards, it's available anywhere, anytime. And then maybe you could tell us what he said. More phone calls at 855-242-7285. Pat Dooley joins us now from Gatorsports.com, longtime columnist, talk show host. Let's talk about what's happened in the last year since, obviously, Will Muschamp and the Gators lost to South Carolina and Steve Spurrier. And the next day it was announced Muschamp was gone. Pat Dooley joining us. Pat, never forget, you told us you thought Jim McElwain would be Coach of the Year at 7-5. Well, I guess that means you're voting for him to be Coach of the Year.
Yeah, well, I mean, he got to 8 finally. So, no, it's been something that nobody saw coming, Paul. I mean, when you look at this team, to be honest with you, Saturday, what we saw was what I thought we were going to see all year, which was an offensive line getting manhandled, quarterback not playing well, and that's why we didn't think this was going to be a very good team. Why it waited till the ninth game to show up, I have no idea, but they certainly survived it. But I mean, that's what they are. You look at their stats, and they're not that much better than they were a year ago, but they have found ways to win close games. I mean, this is, I think, the fourth or fifth game they've won by less than a touchdown or less, and that's the key. I've got a saying that college football games seasons come down to a handful of plays and a handful of games, and this has been the epitome of it.
Pat, for those of us who didn't see it to the extent that you did, mainly highlights en route to places, what happened and what concerns would Jim McElwain have from that game moving forward to this weekend and the rest of the season?
Well, Paul, if you want to see the game in its entirety, you're going to have to go down to Guantanamo, and they're going to be showing it to prisoners down there. So it was ugly. I did the numbers on it Sunday. There were 62 plays in that game for 0 or negative yards. What you had were two really good defenses and two really bad offenses, and Florida's offense has regressed a bit as Creon Harris has gone forward. That's part of the problem. He's not played well, and then their offensive line just now. Part of it was that their left tackle didn't practice hardly at all during the week and played some in the game, but missed practice. Martez Ivey missed some practice as well, but they just didn't play well. And maybe McElwain was telling us yesterday that there was a little bit of it, and no matter how much you tried to guard against it, hey, it's just Vanderbilt. Let's win the game, get it over, and we're champs of the East. There was not the feeling of let's go do what we have to do to win this game. It was just like, let's just get it over with. And, early in the game, they go down, they get a 71-yard kickoff return, they're down, and the next play is a 20-yard run down to the 5, and you think they're going to just blow them out. And they don't score there, and then they have 4 turnovers. And this is a team that was second in the nation in turnover margin. So it was an atypical game for this team, and I think the concerns going forward still are the same. Their quarterback is very average, and their offensive line is very average, and if a team gets ahead of them, it's very hard for them to come back.
When you hear everyone out there talking about the one-loss teams as playoff contenders, and the subject comes to the University of Florida, what goes through your mind? Do you think it's futile, or do you think there's a way somehow that Florida can survive this next 4 weeks?
A lot of people have made the comparison to 06, which was a team that nobody had any aspirations for playing for a national championship going into the season. And even just winning the East. In fact, they did the same thing. They clinched it the week before the South Carolina game. And then all of a sudden they're playing South Carolina, and they need the blocked field goal to win that game to keep their national championship hopes alive. And, of course, beat Florida State, beat Arkansas in the SEC championship game. I think it's a little different. I don't think this team's as talented as that team. That team had Percy Harvin and Tim Tebow as freshmen. Brandon Spikes was a freshman on the team. They were a really talented team that was trying to find itself offensively. This team is more of a miracle, and there's Alabama waiting waiting down the road. If Vandy manhandles your defensive line, it probably doesn't look good. But I think Florida fans were, hey, let's just see what happens. What the heck? I mean, stranger things have happened in college football, but right now I think they're just trying to focus on the next game, because there's no point in looking ahead when you've got that big red elf in the way.
At this point, I realize the coach is different, but how would you compare the team we're seeing right now versus the one we saw last November that lost to South Carolina in Gainesville?
More than anything, Paul, I think it's just the difference between winning and losing and one play here and one play there. You think about, in fact, I'm working on a piece for Thursday on the plays that allowed Florida to move on and to win these. When you think about, obviously, the Callaway play against Tennessee, but there was also Aaron Medley had a 55-yard field goal missed by 2 inches. If that hooks in a foot, now we're not talking about that. We're talking about Tennessee and how they won the big game, and who knows. You go back to the Georgia game, the muff punt, early in the game. And of course, the interception by Tabor for a touchdown against Missouri, when Florida's offense had gone absolutely dead stone cold. So those are the kind of things that just keep happening for this team. Big plays at the right time, in the clutch time, that weren't happening before. They just couldn't make a big play. They couldn't get off the field. The defense could play unbelievable football, but when they had to stop them, they couldn't for some reason previously. So, and they're doing that. We saw that Saturday when amazing stat of the game, Paul. Vanderbilt ran 10 plays on its final drive and only gained yards on one of them. I don't know if I've ever seen that before, but they kept getting penalties, and so somehow, some way, they finally did stop them. But that's the thing, they stopped them. And that to me is the biggest difference. They just make the plays. I'm a big believer that no matter who you are, I mean, there are games where Alabama dominates LSU. But Paul, you watched the Tennessee game. You had to make the plays in that game. And that's what there's a bunch of games where you got to make the plays. And if you don't make them, you're 5-7. If you make them, you're 10-1. I mean, it's just that simple. Although that's bad math. I should have said 10-2. But you know what I mean? It's just there's just a handful of plays. You got to make those plays, and Florida's making them under Matt Wayne. They believe they're going to make them, and I think that's the biggest difference is the attitude that he's brought to this team and made these guys understand the little things and how important they are.
Pat Dooley with us. Pat, a week ago, obviously, Florida just beat down Georgia, and I'm curious, as Florida's biggest rival, what are your thoughts and what do you hear in your building about the Georgia job? You have an AD there that used to be at Florida. There is a fairly close relationship there between the two ADs. You've watched the SEC for a very long time. Your assessment of Georgia right now?
Well, I mean, Georgia just appears to be what Georgia always is. They'll get you so far and then let you down. And I don't know at what point is that not enough. My bigger question would be, where do you turn? And that's, Paul, I know you've talked about that a lot. What's the answer if it's not Mark Richt? It's a great job. I think it's one of the better jobs in college football with the facilities they have. Now finally building an indoor facility and the stadium. It's one of my favorite cities in America. I love Athens. And certainly, but when you look at the talent that they have recruited, everybody in the press box was bringing up the old Steve Spurrier line back when Ray Goff was the coach. That it's Georgia gets all the recruits. They win recruiting day. I don't know what happens to those players when they get to Georgia. So that was kind of the same feeling, I mean, they got players, and how did they get into this quarterback conundrum for 2 years? That's an amazing thing too. So, I think in the end, though, I just think Mark Richt has done things the right way in terms of off the field, and I wouldn't want to have to make a decision on that. I just don't know if there's a better solution for Georgia.
Finally, Pat, back to Will Greer. There's certainly been very little in the news lately. This year looks gone, but is there any hope around Gainesville, around the Florida facilities, that he could get back at least the beginning of next year, the first half of next year?
Well, he filed his appeal last week, but everything I've read, and I'm not as educated as a lot of people about the NCAA and their policies and what they do, but everything I've read is that they've got to prove that the test was faulty, or the delivering of the test was faulty, the Ryan Braun defense, and the kid has stood up there and apologized for what he did already. I just don't see how those two things mesh. So my gut is that no, he's going to have to sit out the first half of next year as well. Just because if you stand up and go, I made a mistake and I shouldn't have done it, I'm sorry, it's kind of hard to appeal that. But everything that I read is that you can't appeal, or you could try, but you're not going to get it overturned based on I didn't know what I was doing, I didn't know what I was taking. So I mean, that's just my opinion. I don't think you'll see him until the Missouri game next year.
Pat Dooley, we'll see you soon, I hope. Thank you very much for your time.
Apparently, I'm going to Atlanta, Paul.
That is the word, and I know you enjoyed that trip very much.
Yep, look forward to seeing you up there, buddy.
Okay, thanks, Pat. We'll talk to you there. If not sooner, Pat Dooley from Gainesville covers the Gators, and we will take a short break. Back with more of your phone calls.
Did you ever look...
Welcome, everyone, back to the program. To the phones we go, and Jim is next up in Tuscaloosa.
Well, I can't answer the bell every now and then, and did I hear you say you KO'd me?
Well, Jim, that was a trick to get you to call back.
Yeah, I knew it. Well, I know your tricks, believe me, but you didn't trick me. I just wanted to respond because I got some other things to say, but you and your gang of 8 couldn't KO me on all y'all's best day.
Jim, this is where I'm supposed to say no mas, no mas.
That's exactly what. If you're smart, that's what you say. That's what you should have said yesterday. That's what you should have said yesterday when Nay from Sugarland, Louisiana, or wherever, Sugar something, she don't sugarcoat nothing, and she KO'd you, Paul. Come on, man. She's the best I've heard since I was on the show.
Yeah,
I mean, that lady was 74 years young, and she wiped you and wiped the floor with you.
She did. I'm an honest man. You know that, Jim.
Well, I hope you are. I thought you used to be, and, well, I'm glad you admitted that because she laid that weasel tag on you that I already laid on you 10 years ago. So,
well, Jim, without you on the show, I just kind of cruise down Easy Street. All you do is sit there and punch buttons without me on the show. I don't even train for the fights. I just show up and get a check.
Hey, you're talking to Junior, Donald Trump Jr., and I want to ask you, Paul, I've kind of lost confidence in my man Donald. He's kind of his swagger's kind of getting weak when he is crushing or trying to crush Ben Carson, and just because he took over the lead on the polls a few days, and here we go tonight. It's a perfect day for me to call. I didn't even think about it, but tonight's the night. What's going to happen tonight, Paul? You're a pretty good analyst. I'm talking about political, not football.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. I think this will be a very low. I think the media is on stage tonight, so it will be more substantive, which means it probably won't be very interesting. And I expect Trump to be in his element, talking about financial matters. I think the person that needs to be careful tonight is Jeb Bush. He could get knocked out of the race.
Paul, now you talking about KO. That guy, tell me the truth. You tell me he's not a dead man walking as far as politics and presidential hopes? I mean, the guy
he's gained fewer yards than Leonard Fournette lately.
In the whole game, yeah. He hasn't even gained 31 yards.
No, he's on the brink tonight.
No, he's not on the brink, Paul. He's a dead man walking.
Well, I would agree with you on that. Although, let me say this about Ben Carson's in trouble.
I think Trump's in trouble. He could be.
He could be.
I'll tell you why. You know, Paul, you've been around. This is not our or your first rodeo in politics. These older women like Nay and these other smooth people from the South, all over the country, actually, they don't care for somebody that goes around just bad-mouthing somebody just for no reason other than they just took over the lead in the polls. And this guy comes out the other night, and he was vicious on O'Reilly. I'm on the O'Reilly show talking about Carson. I got turned off. Have you gotten turned off at the guy?
I've actually become fairly uninterested in the race right now because it's nothing. And by the way, Jim, it's still a little early, but
I know.
It's I think right now, from a political standpoint, you're just trying to hold on to get to
February.
Yeah.
By the time February gets here, you and I could be in the lead.
We could. And probably should.
I think so. Yeah. No, really, I'm a little bit. These Twitter people, they drop me like a hot potato. They unfollow me because I tell the truth. I have a habit of telling the truth. And the other day, I just said, hey, Trump kind of ticked me off. And, I lost about 80
Let me ask
followers.
you this. If not Trump, then where would you go?
That's the problem, Paul. There's nowhere to go. And, actually, the guy is the best. He says more things that are right. He knows more about what's wrong with the country. And he would be excellent in many aspects, economically, the economy, the foreign policy, but when it comes to smooth domestic policy and public relations, I think he's got a problem, and that's where he's going to get hurt, by losing the lead. And I don't think he'll get. He's got no. And I know, at the best, he's got no chance of being nominated by the rat Republican Party. You know that.
Well. Are you, by the way, Jim, are you following Alabama football this year?
Well, I couldn't help but see what happened the other night, certainly.
Okay.
And that was enormous. What else can I say? Yeah. Enormous on the defensive side. All you got to do is pass them. That's what I told you before. If they just pass, Marcus was dead on the yesterday. All you got to do is pass on Alabama. I guarantee you, if they threw 3 passes per set of downs, they probably beat them. Whoever played them would probably. If they got a decent passer and a couple of, good split, good wideouts, they could probably beat them. I've never seen them. They don't even turn around and look at the ball. Cyrus Jones just runs down there and looks at the receiver, never turns to see where the ball. I played a little defensive back. You've got to turn and see where the ball is halfway through the pass route, and then go back to looking at the receiver. But at least you know where the ball is. He don't even look where the ball is, and that's why he gets beat so often. He just gets beat constantly. I can't believe Saban's allowed this to happen, but other than that defensive front seven, never seen one. I don't know if I've ever seen one better at Alabama. And you know what they had in 92, and my daddy said what they had in the 60s, so, hey, but that other night was unstoppable.
I agree. It was can they keep it up? I think they can, but that's been the problem with Alabama the last 2 or 3 years is an inability to finish.
Well, yeah, and just losing focus for some reason. I don't know if they can keep their focus this week or not. Everybody's scared. I think you are too. As far as who knows? It's supposed to win and dominate. And by the way, Paul, what committee member gave you that call at 5:30 last week to tell you that the Alabama would be number 4, where you could make yourself look good?
I was on College Football Live earlier, and they were asking me for insight. I said, "Hey, I didn't get my call this week." Well, it was a good hunch. There was actually some scuttlebutt that Alabama was in the picture, so I acted on that. This week, I don't have as strong a feeling.
Well, I'll just tell you right now. I know they got one loss, but right now, I'm talking about right now, as of Saturday night, they're the best team in the nation. Even with the inadequacy still at the quarterback position, because he's 15-yard losses and getting sacked. The guy needs to learn how to get rid of the ball. He's still tentative.
I will say this, I think they're in better shape than they were a year ago, and I don't want to hear what everyone has to say about the statistics.
Oh, there's no question they're in better shape than
I never thought he could get them over the hump. He came close, but he couldn't do it.
Well, Blake Sims couldn't throw a pass like this guy. You know that.
I think this guy has a lot more going for him.
Yeah, I agree. So what about tonight? Give your assessment of what will happen tonight.
If I had to predict a winner tonight, I would predict it would be Rubio.
I can't stand that guy, Paul.
Well, I didn't say.
Really, I think the guy is just. I think he's just a liar. I think he's the tax stuff. I think it's all true. I think somebody said he just got in politics to do what you do, get an easy ride.
Now, Jim, you're going to make me cry with shots like that.
Well, let's get Nate back on and let's get the show rolling. And you had it rolling yesterday, and you got so embarrassed that Nate KO'd you. You dumped her. You dumped her.
Jim, all is good now. You called us again, and I feel better. I'm energized. I'm ready to roll.
Well, you should feel energized because you know what energy I've got. I'm not low energy, as Trump is not.
I'm Ben Carson, low energy. Jim, thanks. Appreciate it. We're up against the break. All is good. Jim, our political correspondent. Trump Finebaum 2016, although Jim now is down on Trump. What is the world coming to?
Have you heard?
Geico presents Strange Savings Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
And now, for Geico's edition of Stuff Found in Your Car, we go inside your side door pocket.
Hello, yes, the crumpled receipt with gum in it. From your anniversary dinner, you sprang for expensive wine, your server was Beth. That dinner was a couple $100. Money you could get back if you switched to Geico and saved hundreds of dollars on your car insurance. I bet you'd save that receipt. Frame it even. But really, where did I go wrong? Was it the corkage fee?
Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com today.
Dollar General is where you can find incredible savings on Dr. Pepper products, like 12-pack cans or 2-liter bottles. Come into your local Dollar General and save today. Make smart plays for game day with Dr. Pepper at Dollar General, where you can save time, save money, every day.
It's a football Sunday doubleheader. First in Green Bay, the Packers face the Lions.
Got it! Touchdown!
Then at MetLife Stadium, the Giants host the undefeated Patriots. Coverage begins Sunday at noon Eastern on ESPN Radio.